I'm Russell Brower, and I'm Director of Audio and the lead composer of Blizzard Entertainment. As Audio Director of Blizzard, my job is to, first and foremost, help create an environment where this wonderful staff that I have the great honor of working with feels safe to be creative and do everything it takes to affect the sound of everything we do. So every sound that Blizzard makes, whether it's in the game, whether it's on the web, whether a cinematic, if it makes sound, we have something to do with it. So my job is to kind of keep the train on the rails and occasionally lead by example. In my case, I do write music as well. The advice I would give to someone who's just starting out relates to that finding your passion statement. I was lucky enough to find out at a relatively young age what I really love to do. And in this case, for me, it was music and sound. And in finding that, I found the thing that I would go home every night, if I had a day job or whatever, I would go home every night to my studio and create music and sound. Just because I had to. It was burning a hole in my belly. And so I tell people, you need to want it that much, that you would do it anyway, that you would do it. If you had no job, you'd still do it. If you had to pay, because it's a student film maybe that you're scoring, or a student video game, like you would have these days, you would just do it for free or even pay to do it. You might have to pay the musicians out of your own pocket. If you, as a person getting started out, can hear me say all that and say, yes, that's me, I can do that, I'll stay glued to it, then you probably have a chance. If you get to do what you love, there's just nothing better. I mean, there's no better way to enjoy your passion and to contribute and to leave something in this world better than you found it, leave some art behind, leave some beautiful music, whatever it is. That's the best thing you can do. And so if you've got the perseverance for it, please go for it. At Blizzard, we're known for 3 major franchises: the Warcraft franchise, specifically now World of Warcraft, the Diablo franchise, and StarCraft. And they are very different from each other. And even though it's the same group of people of us, we number about 40 strong now in the sound department, it's a very big responsibility to maintain the individual identity of each of these franchises. We even record the different franchises with different orchestras in different sized rooms in very specific places. Warcraft has a kind of Bronze Age sound, so we record that in an old church, chapel, if you will, with a 60-foot ceiling, and it just has this sound that's very specific. And with Diablo, we relied heavily on choral music, and we had a specific choir for the demonic side and another one for the heavenly side. Diablo is a really unique franchise for us in that the music is very iconic. For a lot of our fans and players, Diablo was the first thing they ever played. In fact, it was the first game I ever played, long before I ever knew I would work at Blizzard. The soundtrack that Matt Ullman created for Diablo I, Diablo II, and the expansion for Diablo II it's unusual. It's something that you wouldn't expect. It's 12-string guitar through a delay, and it has these iconic chords, and it doesn't make intuitive sense, but it completely works. And that became ingrained in the hearts and memories of everyone who loved the game. Matt had started experimenting with more live orchestras and this Wagnerian sound, so we picked up that thread and ran with it and went with this very large orchestra sound. In fact, we recorded the orchestra in the most old-fashioned concert hall we could. Like the oldest way you can hear music, short of being in an amphitheater, is in this big hall. And then we added this choral element, again with this Irish choir, Anuna, which was a very gorgeous sound for the quote-unquote hell choir. And then playing against type, this all-male, just nasty-sounding choir for the heaven side. And that sort of support the story ideas that maybe the evil side's a little more seductive and beautiful, and heaven has infighting going on, there's turmoil going on, and so much so that Diablo could walk in through the side door and start kicking the tar out of everybody. So in the end, we're storytellers. Everyone at Blizzard is a storyteller, no matter what their discipline. And the things I just mentioned are some of the devices we used as sound and music folks to help tell that story. I think sound, music especially, is a game of contrasts. So the epic moments are more epic if you have either quiet moments or moments of silence. Our goal is for people to feel immersed and hopefully keep the sound turned on. I've been fortunate enough in my career to work in just about every medium there is. Television, a little film, not a lot, but a little, toys, and a lot of theme parks, as well as games. And there's a common thread. Storytelling is storytelling. And a linear medium like film or television is really important because you do learn a lot about what I mentioned earlier about contrasts, or setting up a moment and then paying it off, and learning something about pacing and how to work with timing to picture and things like that. These are all skills that are really great to have, because in a video game, well, usually something can happen at the most unexpected time. You still have these opportunities to tell a mini story through sound with a series of like sonic events that aren't just randomly put together in a hodgepodge, but literally have some deliberate pacing to them. So designing sound for a theme park is really a lot like designing sound for World of Warcraft. I think of World of Warcraft as a theme park in a box. But I'd have to say technology is a double-edged sword, because the fact that we could now play 100, 200, 300, 1,000 sounds at once isn't necessarily a good thing. One of the reasons people to this day still love the music from the oldest video games, Mario or what have you, is because the technology was so limited, they had to make the melody count with only one note playing at a time, or maybe 2 or 4. So the melodies had to be good and be memorable. And so, again, using music as an example, the best music would sound just as powerful on a music box as it would with a symphony orchestra. So a lot of what we're doing these days is making sure that we don't just use the technology for its own sake. I think one of the big frontiers ahead is simulating what mixers do when they dub a movie. They have every voice, every sound effect, every piece of music on a different volume control or fader. And scene by scene, they decide what's important and what moves the story forward, and turn off the rest. So I think it's both a boon and a challenge that we can play all the sounds we want. It's all very clean, but now the challenge is to use great responsibility to not overdo it.